Hi, everyone. Just wanted to let you know that I did not reach my step goal today. Barely, barely moved today. I don't know what it was. I think just I didn't get a early morning start, so I just walked 5,194 steps. So, mm. Sarah, hey. Um, Now you are well versed in this because I got to hear a few minutes of your live while I was driving to Bocce. Is StreamYard working for you? It was down earlier. I actually don't use StreamYard. I either use YouTube and sometimes I used to use Riverside. Um, Main reason I didn't use StreamYard was because someone ruined it for me by telling me that Ryan Reynolds has a little bit of a stake in something associated with StreamYard. And so because of that, I could not, for the life of me, spend money on anything that has any association with it. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that there's something I probably put money towards that he's associated with, but I don't know. That's why they should disclose that kind of stuff. Hey, Christina. Hey, Emily. Oh, from Japan. I loved it when I visited Japan. Sarah said, good call. I think I might stop using it after tonight. Christina said, can you guys see the symbol before the hi in my message? Yes, I do. Is that intentional or you're trying to see why it's doing that? Hi, Donnie. Hi, Suki. Hey, Donna. All right. So obviously, if y'all went to Sarah's live or heard it from Katie, heard it from LGA, I don't know who else has talked about this. I also realized that I say James Vituscka and you say it differently, Sarah. And I was like, my word, how do I say this person's name? um, hey, Kenny. All right. So again, this is nothing new for those that probably watched any other folks that did the live on this. Now, as I said in my live, am I surprised that James is? Sorry, I saw Suki's way of pronouncing his James's last name, so that's funny. Is Witushka? Wituska? Wituska? All this time, I thought it was Vitushka. Vituska? Now, am I surprised that James is suing the New York? I mean, not the New York Times, the Daily Mail. No, no, I do not. Um, there was talks about that. I don't know if it was Without a Crystal Ball that I had talked about it, and also James for a little while was like following other people, getting them to having them follow him. You know, I feel like he was a person bursting to desire to like tell people stuff. You know what I mean? Um, so I didn't get to hear much of Sarah's live because I was listening to it on my drive to play bocce. So I only got to hear maybe like 15 minutes of it. So I didn't get very far. Um, so I is it Kira? Kira 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 4872 Without a Crystal Ball, I believe broke the story. That's what I felt. I felt like I felt that was the case. Pam said, is StreamYard working? I do not know because I do not use StreamYard. Okay, so here is oh, I still don't know how to say that. Is it Kyrie? Kyra? Kai? Because KYE throws me off because I'm like, is this K? Is there another way you could spell it for me so I could figure out? I'm very sometimes super bad at pronunciation. Um, Kira? Is it Kira? But then I'm like, no, ay naman. Hi, Kiara. All right. So yeah, we get another spin-off. This time is James Vituscka, I guess. I've been saying it wrong the whole time. I mean, Vituscka. You said Vituscka? Why is it we? It's not even V? What? Okay, Vituscka. I was about to say, I was like, how is Vituscka? I thought you wrote, and I was like, what? Okay, Vituscka. Anyways, I'm just gonna say James. James V. No, just kidding. So again, not surprised about this lawsuit at all. To the above named defendants are hereby summoned to answer the complaint in this action and to serve a copy of your answer, or if the complaint is not served with this summons, to serve a notice of appearance on plaintiff's attorney within 20 days after the service of the summons, exclusive of the day of service, or within 30 days after the service is complete, if the summons is not personally delivered to you within the state of New York. And in case of your failure to appear or answer, judgment will be taken against you by default for the inconvenience relief demanded in the complaint. This is dated August 10, 2026, New York, New York. And another new lawyer. I think this is what, the third, fourth lawyer that James has worked with. Hi, Gelth. Hi, Gelth Water. Okay, let's go. So it says James Vituscka against Mail Media individually doing business as Daily Mail. Rhymes with Tyra. Oh, Kyra. Okay, Kyra. Okay, Kyra. Okay. Thank you. Super helpful. Okay, plaintiff by and through his attorneys. What is this? Arc? My word. Sorry. Law Group PC, upon information and belief, complains of the defendant Mail Media Inc. individually and doing business as Daily Mail as follows. Here's the nature of the case. So defendant Daily Mail publicly portrays itself as one of the world's largest and most influential news publishers. I didn't know that. They do? Renowned for its agenda-setting exclusive, breaking news, incisive commentary, and in-depth investigations. Who said this? Who said this? Show me. Because I'm so confused. I have never seen that. I have never thought of Daily Mail in that sense whatsoever. Okay. Renowned for its agenda-setting exclusive. This is what Daily Mail is, one of the world's largest and most influential, really reaching over 1 billion people globally every month with seriously popular content. Hi, Jungle. Renowned for its agenda-setting exclusive breaking news, incisive commentary, and in-depth investigations, Daily Mail delivers a unique editorial blend spanning showbiz, royals, lifestyle, health, sport, money, and much more. Its extensive reach, influence, and reader loyalty make it a premium destination for more than 300,000 digital subscribers across the UK, US, Australia, and beyond. Daily Mail also maintains a powerful presence across social media, engaging more than 150 million followers and delivering more than 6 billion video views each month across platforms such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat. Seriously Popular isn't just a slogan, it's a relentless 24/7 commitment to delighting, informing, and inspiring audiences worldwide. Daily Mail is part of DMG Media. Okay, like that's fine and all, but like no one outside of Daily Mail is talking about Daily Mail in this way. I do not at all. Um, Oopsie. Hi S on TikTok. Isn't Daily Mail just a gossip column? Well, I that's how I view it. Now, with that said, I have learned through this process that legitimate like PR people utilize Daily Mail. I think what I realized about Daily Mail is I used to think Daily Mail was just not real stuff. But what I found out instead is just they don't do any what's the word? They don't really do any vetting per se. They just take what PR people say and take them at their word, really. Like what investigations do? In depth investigations, really? How? I feel like they print whatever is told to them, but it serves a purpose. I feel like the purpose it serves is it feels out how people will respond. It feels out how people will respond. And so to particular stories. And if people think that's a good story or whatever, if it catches steam, then either it will be quoted in a quote unquote legitimate like paper, or they will give it to a legitimate paper, whatever, to write it about, you know. But first, they got to play it out through the Daily Mail to see how people respond to it or not. That's what I think, at least. Um, Kiara said Daily Mail is a step up from TMZ. Really? I don't know. I don't know what the hierarchy in is, to be honest. Um Christina said they get talking points from PR people. I think so, yeah. Okay. So, despite that public image, defendant Daily Mail sought to control what one of its own reporters could say in connection with federal litigation and retaliated against him when he repeatedly objected. Plaintiff, a successful investigative reporter, objected to signing a sworn declaration that he reasonably believed contained false and misleading statements for use in federal litigation, sought to preserve his ability to testify truthfully pursuant to a lawful subpoena, and attempted to retain independent legal counsel to protect his individual interests. Rather than respect those efforts, defendant's Daily Mail retaliated against him as set forth below. I did want to read a text message that he handed over for the Lively case, right? And it's his text messages between him and Melissa Nathan. And he talks about Leslie Sloane here, forcing him or like pressuring him to sign like this declaration. So that's what I'm saying. Is this really a surprise? No, not if you read the docket, right? The docket makes it clear that he was feeling that way. That's why when this ended up in the docket, I was like, why are they putting this in the docket? I mean, I'm fairly sure, or at least I thought, let me double check. Yeah, it was Lively's like evidence. And I'm like, why are you putting this evidence here? It doesn't make sense because it doesn't help you any. it shows that he felt pressured. He felt pressured to discuss things. Okay. I know we're reading the lawsuit, but you know what? I'm going to stop talking about the lawsuit for a second because I want to read his text messages with with Melissa Nathan. Okay. I think sometimes that background is important before we leap into this lawsuit. He said also to Leslie that I dug around on my own and got information after I talked to her. And then he said, tell. And Melissa says, don't worry. No, there's no way. He says, so can I tell Emma, my editor, that everything is accurate? Sorry. In second, I just need to show Emma a text that says it's accurate so that we can move forward with it. It doesn't leave me and Emma. And Melissa says, absolutely. And it's me, that I'm a complete vault and I'm fully on your side. And James goes, or you can speak to her. And Melissa says, she's calling me back. Don't worry. That's something you shouldn't worry about. Off record, we got your email and we don't have a comment. We don't have a comment from us, but fine to run. And then there's this, Justin got so mad, but they're talking about Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber freaks out on a bunch of young kids, is what she sends him. Also, the Pap story, please, for Trav. For Trav? For Trav? Who's Trav? Also, the Pap story, please, for Trav. Who Trav? Okay. Then James says, please tell Leslie to not tell Colleen I spoke to Colleen. I swore on my life and also told her to never say we spoke. I'm extremely worried about this. This should have never said her name. I told her to deny if anyone asks if she spoke. And Melissa says, I promise. So this is why in Justin Baldoni's deposition, one of the lawyers said, did you know that Melissa knew that Colleen had spoken to the Daily Mail? Kiara said, why are these texts like this? I have no idea. It's just the way that James provided it. And he goes, and then James says, Ryan Reynolds was not a fan of Justin. He thinks he needs a little humility. And when it comes to learning his craft, he should sit down and shut the F up and listen to someone who knows what they're talking about. And Melissa said, he bloody loved him. He's leaving his wife for him. Oh, Melissa. Melissa. And then James says, allegedly. And she goes, I like mine better. And then James says, okay, so the other story involving Justin is basically this. I've heard that there is a second side to the story, which is that Blake and Ryan put a ton of money into the film thinking that we give them complete creative control. And that didn't work out for them. And Sony said, F, you nice try. They threatened to fire her and she was pissed off. One of them stating that she was there every day. And then Melissa says he cannot disprove this. And then he said, okay, so the other story involving Justin is basically this. I've heard that there is okay, it's the same thing. I don't know. It got repeated again. And then Melissa says, I don't think this is true. And James says, oh, really? Interesting. More BS from Steph Jones' world. Also, Stephanie Jones was giving this story. Interesting. Okay, so what story was she giving? Blake and Ryan put a ton of money into the film thinking that we give them complete control, creative control, and that didn't work out for them. And Sony said, F, you. Nice try. They threatened to fire her and she was pissed off. Interesting. Okay, so that was the story that I guess Stephanie Jones might have been trying to peddle. Who knows? Why does it keep repeating? Um the I and Melissa goes, the IP and the film on the rights are owned by Wayfarer. Sony owns a part, but it's not as much as you would think from what I've heard. I mean, Kiara, these are they put it in the doc. I mean, they put it in docket. Mind you, I don't know if. I mean, I do think it's sketchy how they look, but and Melissa says, I can't believe there's so much interest in this. I literally didn't know who he was until last week. Okay, why does he keep repeating that? Is he quoting this? Why is this text over a bazillion times? But I mean, this is Melissa. I mean, she's not wrong. Samesies, really. But she's like, I can't believe there's so much interest in this. I literally didn't know who he was until last week. That's why I always call BS on Ryan Reynolds being like, Blake and I are such big fans of you. Lies, lies, and lies. Okay. Um, and then James says, I think that someone inside of her camp was trying to spin things back in his favor. The story that I did got 470,000 views so far. Melissa said, that is absolutely insane, but well done. LOL. Oh, my word. They keep repeating this. Okay. And then he said, super interesting if Blake and Ryan didn't really try to hijack the movie with their money, though, because this was sworn to me. People are full of, or some are. And then the first one we actually have a date for, August 14th. Heidi Misfit. Did I? Yeah. August 14th. Melissa says, sorry, as you can see, I got swept up in an effing whirlwind of. And then James says, wait, what? Girl, I can't see nothing. I'm just trying to get Rebel up today. LOL. And Melissa says, I hate everyone. And he said, WTF. I mean, who is Brian Marks, Adam Levy, and why are they dripping your name? Oh, it's Hollywood Reporter. And she says, 5 minutes. And James says, okay, you're a star, LOL. And Melissa says, oh, please, still on phone. And he responds back, probably planted by health sick. And Melissa says, I'm such loser, you know it, LOL. And James says, he has a vendetta, upset about Depp leaving for you. Well, and everyone. Interesting. Because what if Hilsig did have something against her? Because she took Depp. Like, I'm telling you right now, people kept telling me that Melissa Nathan was involved in Depp's case. And I was like, I saw no mention of Melissa Nathan throughout the whole time that Johnny Depp was doing his thing. I heard Matthew Hiltsig's name and Carolina Hurley. Now, Carolina Hurley did leave to go with Melissa Nathan. But then all of a sudden, when the Blake Lively lawsuit came out, suddenly Melissa Nathan was like, every 5 seconds was associated with Johnny Depp. It's interesting, to say the least. I mean, that would be wild. I mean, why? How does he know? How does James know that he has a vendetta? Hi, Elisa. don't know what you're doing. Okay, now I don't trust. Okay, now I'm not trusting Melissa here. She says to James, I just found out Stephanie Jones is the one pushing out the story on me. That's not true. That's not true. That's not what was happening in your text message with your friends. Now I'm very oh, Melissa. Now I'm like side-eyeing. Are you playing James right now? She playing James right now? Because I'm more likely to believe the conversation she's having with her friends than the one she's having with James. Hi, Carrie. So James says, manage your crisis. And then Melissa says, I don't know why the F she keeps going after me. And James says, of course. Why would she push the story out if that was her client? Or did she lose him? And she says, he's gone in 2 weeks. And then James says, oh, signing with you? Not for a story? LOL. And she says, I cannot. And then James says, it's going to look like you planted all this. I think she's doing it on purpose. And Melissa says, that's what I'm saying, James. That's what I keep saying. And then James says, I hope you've talked to Leslie. And Melissa says she knows. And James says, okay, good. And she said, we had an hour chat last night. What time is this? It's okay. When she says that she just learned Stephanie Jones is the one pushing out the story, that's in the morning and it's before 1 p.m. 1:36. By 1:36, she's saying something. I need to see when she found out her friend is the one that leaks stuff. Because I wonder if she thought it was Stephanie Jones in the beginning and then found out later it was her friend that accidentally. Interesting. I need to see the timeline again because I don't feel comfortable with. I need to see the timeline because this is gonna make me feel some type of way. As much as I think Stephanie Jones is the villain, I also care about facts, and I don't know if this one story that was the Hollywood Reporter story was Stephanie Jones, unless it's a different story. But I don't like that. And then James says, so all the stuff that I came with Leslie to on Friday ended up coming to fruition, just not through our outlet. I refrained from doing it to put out the truth, and I feel like I should be rewarded, LOL. There's something missing with all of this, and nobody has gotten it yet. I just know something had to happen. That was like a definitive FU. This is not all over attitude and everything. It's something bigger. And as much as I love Leslie, Blake is getting a lot of hate right now because of the fact that she's promoting this movie as if it's a comedy. Justin Smart, he's in Switzerland, wherever the F he's at, talking about the seriousness of the film. Nice work, LOL. With family, foreign land, supporting abused women charities, a true feminist. Perfection. The victim of a hate campaign brought on by evil witch Blake and her power-hungry empire husband, Bryan. You are Richard Gere. If you don't know what I mean, cue one of the best movie scenes of all time. This scene won an Oscar. I'd be amazing in crisis PR, like for real. No, James, you would not. You would not be great. No, James, you would not. You would not be good. Did I? Did I say hi to Donnie already? I feel like I have, but just in case I didn't, hi again. Um, hi, hi, south facing lad. Pam said, yeah, but I think SJ and Melissa would probably blame and backstab chronically. Um, yeah. Christina said, Pam, it's probably the name of the game. Um, he said, I'd be amazing in crisis PR, like for real, LOL. FFF. And I knew this would happen. And then he sent something. And then Melissa says, I'm going to go swimming because I'm at the hotel and I've been in the room up on the phone since 7 a.m. So I'm going to ignore all messages for 30 minutes. And James says, yes, please do. I sent the banner to Leslie. She should have given me something to refute it with, but hadn't responded. And this is what happens when I don't have anything better to shut out. Better to put out to shut this down. And then he says, are you in the hurricane, Ernesto? And she says, I am. He goes, oi, number 2 and number 3 story right now. Actually, 2, 3, and 4. And Melissa said, even the message last night sent out by the studio really backfired on Variety because when they double down that way, it looks even worse. And it looks like Ryan has forced the studio to make something, which she did. Melissa, the answer regarding money is no. I don't know why Melissa dashed. The answer regarding money is no. I wonder if that's just a cut and paste of somebody's answer. And then James says, okay, perfect. And she was never threatened to be fired. What the F happened? This is missing something big. Why won't Justin just get honest and be like, this is what happened? Then this could go away. And then Melissa said, honest to God, because your spidey senses are up. I know what you're saying. And then he says, LOL. And Melissa said, but truly, there's no massive thing or expose. It's a bunch of little things that they're not even able to come out with because it looks ridiculous. Dumois just posted, if they didn't use Blake's cut of the movie, that Taylor Swift song wouldn't be able to be used. But I'm getting a list for you. And then James goes, is this all true? And Melissa says, what? And James says, the Dumois is very informative. And Melissa said, oh, this, I mean, she's got good connects, but I don't know if all. And James says, love the letter and co-star comments. And then needs something to turn in, even just a few examples. And then it cuts off here, so I don't know what this says. And then he says, not mine, F. And she goes, LOL, that's what I said. Yours is so different and better, though. Then he said, yeah, this is a reach. It's okay. It builds up momentum. And Melissa said, was just writing that. As your one will have a banging headline and points twin things out. It's different. RW wants to chat and say hi tomorrow. Are you too busy moving? Just a 5-minute. RW wants to chat. Who's RW? And James says, I'd love to. Hi, Kyra Lindsay 5885. Kyra or Kira? I'm not sure. Kyra? I think Kyra says, I believe MN. I don't believe a word from JV. I mean, JV ruined his credibility when he kept flip-flopping every 5 seconds. So it's going to be hard on him. And then she sends a link of Betty Buzz on Instagram. Our NYC Betty Blooms pop-up at Starbright NYC is live. Stop by this weekend for all that in real life it ends with us feels. And She says, to be honest, this is insane marketing considering topic. I feel a little slighted. And then James says, I told Leslie today that if Blake was ever going to start a charity for abused women, now would be the time. And then Melissa said, sure, but also looks way too performatory. If she did, is that a word? I don't think so. What she needs to do is not double down by saying she isn't speaking on this, but actually speak on it. She should say, I got into this film for all the right reasons. I'm a giant proponent of women's rights and always have been. I hate being in this position to even make this statement, but XXXXX, like on a live. She needs to be relatable. Also, I hope you told Leslie literally all of this hate is organic. And James said, what's that mean, organic? And Melissa said, I feel she thinks all the social stuff is me, but it's organic. It's not manufactured. And James says, yes. Did you tell Leslie to stop having her to do interviews? She stopped trying to control Daily Mail because we've literally done 1,000 posts on Blake now. OMG, we ran Taylor while I was out moving. Thank you again. I just noticed. And Leslie, no response. How Blake lively copied Taylor Swift while promoting it ends with us. Oh, okay, this is the story. This is what they were showing as they were saying that this is the article that that Melissa planted. And is how Blake lively copied Taylor Swift while promoting it ends with us. And that's why James is thanking her for it. That was what that is. Kenny said Blake did that one appearance for DV Survivors and hasn't done one thing since. LOL. Then James says fire. She can recover if Leslie plays cards right. My new place has a view. And Melissa says she's not really talking to me, to be honest, which is fine. And then James says, I got your back to Leslie. And she says, call me on that. And then they send something and he goes, oops, sorry. I told her that you've not told me one word, anything anti-Blake, which you haven't. And he gives a thumbs up. And she responds back, she lost it at me and James. I would tell you, we are close enough now and we've been through a few wars and I consider you an actual friend, no matter what. I don't even care if you do anything negative on my clients because that's both of our jobs. But she completely lost it at me and told me that she had a reporter read out a text verbatim that I had written. And I laughed because if I was doing that, I would never do it on a text. Oh, what? What's happening? Honest to God, I have done nothing. This was so easy. And there's been about 30 pieces of press on me calling me a genius. And I didn't do anything. I usually do. It cracks me up because it reminds me of when the lawsuit happened. And one of the tag employees said, the one time we don't do anything and we get sued. And I always think about like the fact that they say the one time, meaning like, okay, so you do this all the time, but you just didn't do it this one time. Hi, Gloria. You're not shadow banned. I can see you. I think shadow ban just means like I block a person if they're being a particular way to me. Like if I don't want to see them anymore, they start to speak to the void. Kiara. Oh yeah, I remember. That one was an accident though. I'm pretty sure because I would never put you into the void. I mean, it's kind of like what Kyra, is it Kyra or Kia? Akira said the shadow banning allows people to post, but the comments disappear. It's usually the comments can be seen by the people who put it, That's why they don't know they're shadow banned. Is they kind of get the clue because nobody talks to them. Nobody acknowledges their existence, you know? Gelth says Bocce bans trolls, then why am I still here lurking under my stone bridge? You know, Gelth, I think you made it through simply because I kind of think this is just your personality. And I don't think I don't think that you're like you've established enough of a relationship with folks that is different. At least for me. I don't think you've crossed any lines. I feel like if you ever did, Christina would do the mod stuff as necessary. Uh-oh. Which one was it? Long E sound. So because I said Kira or Kyra. But you said long E sound and you said bingo. Like Kyrie? Oh. Kyra? Kyrie? Oh. No, the other person taught me. Her name is Kyra, like Tyra, but with a K. Kyra. This one's different, unless it's the same. oh, oh my word! Oh, okay. Gloria, I don't know. I mean, if we have different we have different standards, I think, or different expectations. So there must be a reason. Um, so like the word ear, the Y makes a long E sound, like Kaira, Kaira, Kaira. Oh, like Kira. Kira said. I mean, I say Kira Sedgwick. So I don't know if that's still right because maybe I've been butchering her name too. Kira, Kira, um, Kira Sedgwick. Um, oh, okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So she's okay. So she says she lost it at me, and she lost it at me. And James, I would tell you, we are close enough, and we've been through a few wars, and I consider you an actual friend. No matter what, I don't even care if you do anything negative on my clients because that's both of our jobs. But she completely lost it at me and told me that she had a reporter read out a text verbatim that I had written, and I laughed because if I was doing that, I would never do it on text. What are you doing now, Melissa? Honest to God, I have done nothing. This was so easy, and there's been about 30 pieces of press on me calling me a genius. And I didn't do anything. I usually do. It was super organic. She thinks I paid for TikToks. I didn't even have TikTok until last week when I needed to see what people were saying about me online. But I have a theory. And then James says the reporter definitely was not me. I told her straight up, no, 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 no. And she says, and I'm really effing pissed off about my theory. I didn't talk to anyone else. And James says, what's your theory? You want me to call you? She says, yes. No, Melissa, I want to know what the theory was. Also, thank you for standing up for me. I will forever do same for you. Interesting. Interesting. And then he says, it's what friends do. I mean, who else would tell you use the Zoom beauty filter? It's everything. And Melissa says, we need a Zoom with filters. Actually, Zoom now does have filters. Not that that's a good thing necessarily, but it just does. And then James says, and I love that it doesn't have anything noting that you're using it. So like nobody knows. That's the best. I hate when TikTok does that. And then laughing emojis. And then Melissa says Billy for the win. And then James says, you think? Please save that Ryan Reynolds story for me. Ryan Reynolds broke strike to secretly direct major film as wife Blake Lively's career takes nosedive. Blake Lively forces husband Ryan Reynolds to break strike to direct It Ends With Us. Laughing emojis. And Melissa says, I'm not commenting on any of... And James says, no, just point me in a direction of statistics available. I will say I gave it some thought about when this film began production. And Melissa says, let's chat Monday, LOL. And then he says, dead fool. Oh, look, you with your jokes there. Your jokes there, James. Dead fool. Ryan Reynolds betrayed actor pals by breaking strike to secretly direct wife Blake Lively's controversial film It Ends With Us. Okay, I'm done. Deadpool is great though. LOL. And then she says, I'm not commenting, as Leslie's going to kill me if she feels I've got anything to do with it. LOL. And then she sends a link for It Ends With Us sequel in doubt amid Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni feud. There's probably no world where they work together again. And then James says, I have the best story for you in the world. You're going to die. Call me when you can. It's why reps should never lie. This was said on August 27, 2024, literally a month before Van Zandt. Then Sunday, December 22, the day after. Wait, no. Was this? Sunday, December 22. So I think that this is 2024, maybe? Yeah, I think so. Hi, CM Pace. So James says, can we discuss this tomorrow? Can you give me anything off record? I refuse to talk to Leslie Sloane. She's full of... And then Melissa said, I'm so tired. Can we chat in the AM? Love the way she's saying she didn't start this or play stories. I didn't play stories. Me. It was organic, as you know. Super tired. Her and Stephanie Jones are ruining 9 women and their families, and none of us have silver spoons. That's right. I remember reading this, and we all were like in the chat going, is this why they started to try to push the 9 women narrative? To try to like bury this statement that Melissa Nathan said that her and Stephanie Jones are ruining 9 women and their families, and none of us have silver spoons. Wouldn't it be wild if this is the reason why they started trying to push those 9 women on as a narrative? And then James says, which 9 women? Blake, Lindsay, Katie? I will get the truth out there to millions tomorrow. Leslie effed me hard this week on a story that she told me info on. And Melissa says, you know the truth of it all. And James said sorry she lied and tried to get it taken down when she was source regarding... This was about Chris Rock, I believe, that they were talking about. Hi, Elsie. And then James says, I do 100%. Justin never sexually assaulted Blake. Okay, he uses the term again here. She is trying to play victim to salvage her career and reputation after it went down the drain because she is And everyone knows it. She and Ryan tried to heist the movie and make it theirs when Ryan had no place doing anything to begin with. She talks about changing the scenes. Ryan added a effing scene and rewrote it. I'll get all of this out tomorrow. Truth must be told again. And she says, and my text is all tongue in cheek because we were like, look how good I am. Because we did nothing. It was organic. And James says, not Blake's lying victim narrative. Anyone who knows you knows that. And she said, I'm so quiet as a person. I'm so loyal. I help everyone. So this has crushed me. Again, I don't know. I don't know what I feel. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know Melissa Nathan. Okay, I don't. Well, this had I'm shy Blake Lively feel to it. I'm sorry. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. But when I read I'm so shy as a person, I'm so loyal, I help everyone, so this has crushed me. I'm sorry. It gave me the vibe of Blake Lively. I'm so shy. And there's a part of me that goes, I don't know you, Melissa, but wait. No. I don't think she's quoting Blake there. Do you think she's acting like Blake there? Because I was about to say it gives me like Blake vibes. Okay, y'all are thinking she's pretending to be Blake. Okay, gotcha. No wonder it read like Blake. It sounded like Blake. I'm like, that sounds like Blake. That sounds like I'm shy. What are you talking about? What are people talking about? An editor? Oh, the lawsuit. Yeah. The lawsuit. He's suing Daily Mail. The accusation he is making is towards a male editor. Claiming SH, I think. Against a male editor. It was not, if you're talking about the lawsuit, I believe it's a man that he's accusing. I need to read it though. I'm almost done with this, maybe. And then we'll go back to the lawsuit. And then James says, oh, no, you can't, it will pass. And then Melissa says, Stephanie Jones took Jen Abel's phone and gave it to Leslie Sloane while still under contract with Justin Baldoni. So she gave private info when he was still a client. There is no subpoena. That's made up. They cherry-picked text with what smear? The smear was organic. And then James says, Leslie Sloane has a personal vendetta against you. And I know this because she's told me. What? I'm so confused. I don't trust any of y'all. Y'all's are, I don't trust any of y'all's. Y'all's are backstabbing people. Just don't trust you. I can't. Everything's a game. Everything's a game. Why are they saying nice things about each other to like Danny and to I don't trust any of these people. I don't trust them. Thanks for the Unk alert for 440 jewels there, CM Pace. I can't trust these people. I don't trust any of them. They play too much. They play too much. And she says, I know. And he goes, that has to play into the lawsuit. Melissa said, she said I ruined her client's reputation to my face. James said, I'll back you on that. She goes, Melissa says, when I did nothing. And then James says, on the stand if I need to. And Melissa says, thank you. I tried to be so fair, and I didn't place one story. You know I didn't. Okay, interesting. So I guess the question is, what about the story about Taylor Swift and Blake Lively copying Taylor Swift? Or is the point that that was not a planting of a story? What does she mean she didn't place one story? Like in regards to Justin? Because I guess technically it's not about Justin because that was a Taylor Swift one instead. I don't know. Hi, love is richly golden. You said, I would love to watch a TV series based around PR reps, journalists, and their clients. PR people are so untrustworthy and backstabby that a series would be juicy. Um, Kiara said, did they go after James because he was trying to put out info contradicting what Blake was accusing? I have to. We're almost going to go back to the lawsuits soon in a little bit. And then James says, or affidavit, whatever it takes. And Melissa said, I didn't need to. And James says, no, she placed them. And Steph Jones is the worst. And then Melissa said, of course, Leslie and Stephanie, dream team. And James says, she wants screenshots. Here you go. The vendetta is laid out in her words in many texts. Feel free to use them. Dude, where are these text messages? This is why this should have been a metadata one. We would have seen those text messages that he just screenshotted and attached. What? And then Melissa says, thank you, XXXX. And he says, I've got more. Just let me know. And she said, send all. I'm on with Bryan regarding cross complaint, which you will get first. The crazy thing regarding New York Times is that they did a story that's all planned and smear-like and said we were. Like, what? And my job is Crisis, in which Leslie works on Crisis. And then James says, this shows what a liar she is. She said the whole cast hates, it says hits, but it's hates Justin. This has nothing to do with Blake. And now she's saying that Blake was sexually assaulted. Why wouldn't she say anything about that then? She knows she is full of. She told me that the whole issue was that everybody hates Justin. Nothing about Blake and Justin. She said it had nothing to do with Blake. BS. And Melissa says, I know. And then December 23, Melissa said, it's Bryan Freedman. LOL, Andy. Is there any way it could be really high up in the story? Who's like, whenever I hear Andy, I think Popcorn Planet, but who is, but this is probably somebody at Daily Mail, though. Probably. Is there any way it could be a really high up in the story? And then he said, this was sent to the news desk. Who wrote it? I cannot tell them where to include it, but it is in first third. Told them to fix Andy. And she says, thank you. And he goes, my editor wants to hold out for the cross complaints since that will likely have it all in there. And Melissa said that won't be until January. And he said, oh, and let me see what we can do. This was from our editor-in-chief. And Melissa said, it's not fair because they cover everything else. And Melissa says, James says, I'm trying to see what we can do. Stand by. And then he mentions, I love Bryan. This is before he didn't know how to spell Bryan's name. And then Melissa says, me too. And James says, we are running it. Thank you. And she goes, thank you. So December 24, he sends a bunch of things. And he goes, she said Steph Jones is a liar. Then asks for details of the people on her team. Then she says she will have the whole cast go on record. I'll send to Freedman. Hey, can we get any more information on Redacted? Anything person about how she's handling it? If she's leaning on Pookie? Who's Pookie? All of these stories have done so well. And she said, honestly, I'm too in the middle of all this stuff. They've been really quiet. I think our next call is the 26th. Stephanie Jones has now put out a thing that she's suing me and Jen. I'm like, what the F? I didn't even work for you. And James says, what? Just read docs. This is getting insane because they are not telling truth. And Melissa says, I know. Imagine how I feel. I was hired for a job for 2 months. And James says, this will blow over, but you can understand how stressful it must feel. The truth will prevail. We both know the type of people that Leslie and Stephanie are. It will come out in the wash. And then on December 27, he says, the thing you sent me, who wrote it? And Melissa said, what thing? Oh, Puck? Matt Baldoni and Eric Gardner. And James says, oh, who are they? Where was it published? It's really good. And she said, it's the biggest trade newsletter. It's huge. It's famous. If you sign up, you will get 2. And so on December 29, he says, XO, sweet, I'll sign up. I really need to stay on top of all of this stuff with you because I want to break all of it. I have a feeling that the script will flip because they effed up. And everyone is so anti-Justin that they're going to be anti-everything that he comes with because they have to be. Because a whole feminist Me Too, no one can still like Blake. They are just pretending they do because of her victim mentality and her powerful hubby. Just saying. And she says, hi, can you talk in 30? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, tried you, just invited you to Signal. Join Signal. I'm going to send you the stuff. Then call me back after you listen to the voice note. And he says, okay. I think this is another reason why they put this as their evidence because of the use of Signal. Probably is my guess. And then on December 30, he says, check your Signal. And then December 31, he said, check Signal. And then she said, in this vicious smear campaign fully orchestrated by Blake Lively and her team, the New York Times cowered to the wants and whims of 2 powerful, untouchable Hollywood elites, disregarding journalistic practices and ethics once befitting of the revered publication by using doctored and manipulated text and intentionally omitting texts which dispute their chosen PR narrative. Faye Andy said, so they use Signal? Yeah. I mean, I don't think they've ever denied using Signal. I mean, it actually cracks me up in Justin Baldoni's deposition when he was asked about Signal. But anyways, I digress. Hi, Daphne's Luna Buna. These reporters and publicists, you said, I don't know what's up, down, left, right, cannot tell who to believe. Yeah, I don't believe any of them. I feel like everybody plays in our faces. In doing so, they predetermined the outcome of their story and aided and abetted their own devastating PR smear campaign designed to revitalize Lively's self-induced floundering public image and counter the organic groundswell of criticism amongst the online public. The irony is rich. Make no mistake, however, as we all unite to take down the New York Times by no longer allowing them to deceive the public. We will continue this campaign of authenticity by also suing those individuals who have abused their power to try and destroy the lives of my clients. While their side embraces partial truths, we embrace the full truth and have all the communications to back it. The public will decide for themselves as they did when this first began. Bryan Freedman. And then James, this is June 29, okay? This is why I was like, why are you providing June 29 text? This is way past what the judge says you need to provide. Because the judge said that they could provide up to, I believe, February. Was it February? Because he says after the first amended complaint, like they should have the right to be able to like defend themselves, and so you're not going to get any more discovery after, I believe, February. But James Vituscka provides something from June 29, and so he says, hey, can you please call me? I don't know what's going on, but no matter what it is, I can take it. For 3 weeks, all I wanted was this declaration to be withdrawn because it is not truthful and contains info I told them not to include, and because I was forced to sign it. Now everyone's acting strange and no one's responding to me. So this is This is exactly what he says in the Daily Mail. I was forced to sign this declaration, and I think anybody who had been following this case, when James Vitushka, I mean Vituscka, ended up like signing that declaration, we all kind of knew something was up. We kind of all knew something was up because we knew that James was not feeling that declaration, but we didn't have any proof of it. I just remember being shook at because it made no stinking sense in my brain. But after this, it's like, there you go. That's why. He says, morning. I mean, Melissa goes, morning. I'm a little under the weather with a giant migraine. There's nothing else happening to my knowledge. I sent all to Bryan Freedman, and he didn't say much more to me. I'm not in direct contact with Mark G, who ends up being his lawyer, over any of your situation at all. So there's nothing off happening at all at our side. You need to get hold of Mark and team and ask WTF is going on. I wish I had all the info on your stuff, but I don't. I am full drowning in our stuff and all that they are throwing at us nonstop. You have to ask him for a call ASAP and tell him you need a plan for this week. And you cannot just wait around and see, especially now you have lost your job due to Leslie Sloane's actions. They need to tell you what their plan is ASAP. And James says, okay, thanks. I thought you were mad at me for some reason. I'm sorry you're not feeling good. This really takes toll on your body and mind. And Melissa goes, oh my gosh, I'm not mad at you at all. I feel absolutely desperately unhappy for you. I feel so unhappy for you. It made me even sadder. And yes, this has taken the biggest toll on all of us. Your mind, your body exhaustion, and you can't sleep. All because of some stupid, effing, egotistical maniac. Can't believe that no one liked her. I just can't believe I'm in this for the sake of a 3-week period. She was hired for 2 months, and she's like, and this is based off of a 3-week period. Interesting. And then James says, I can't believe the Daily Mail is blaming me for articles that they benefited from and fired me after we filed a whistleblower complaint alleging that I lied and I said in court documents that Justin Baldoni assaulted Blake. This is what the company told me in their letter of termination. I was like, not this sentence again. They also said that I had to be removed from every story on Blake since January, and I've only done 92 in actuality. Anyways, it's all water behind the bridge now. All we can focus on is the future. I'm praying that there will be a way for our truth to shine through. And she said, same. And he said, keep the faith. I'm always here for you. Sorry for freak out. And she said, listen, it's so hard to not freak out. I'm always here. So that's where that is. So let's go back to the actual lawsuit. Defendant Daily Mail's retaliation was deliberate and escalating. It discouraged plaintiff from obtaining independent legal counsel, pressured him to sign a sworn declaration despite his repeated written objections, interfered with his participation in a judicial proceeding, stripped him of his reporting responsibilities and bylines while his professional reputation was publicly attacked, and ultimately fired him just 11 days after receiving correspondence from his counsel. Defendant Daily Mail's retaliation did not arise in isolation. Months earlier, after plaintiff rejected a supervisor's sexually suggestive advance, that supervisor's treatment of plaintiff changed materially. As alleged below, that hostility resurfaced throughout the events giving rise to this action and culminated in plaintiff's termination. Plaintiff complains pursuant to the New York State executive law, the New York labor law, and the New York common law, seeking damages to redress the injuries he has suffered as a result of being discriminated against on the basis of his sex and actual and or perceived disability, together with creating a hostile work environment, retaliation, whistleblower retaliation, sexual harassment, interference with a protected right, and unlawful termination. Plaintiff is a male resident of the state of New York, County of Kings. At all times material, defendant Daily Mail was and is a foreign corporation duly incorporated under the laws of the state of Delaware. At all times material, defendant Daily Mail was and is authorized to conduct business in the state of New York and does conduct business in the state of New York. At all times material, defendant Daily Mail operated the U.S. publishing business for the Daily Mail newspaper and website, maintaining its principal place of business at 51 Astor Place, New York, New York. At all times material, defendant Daily Mail was and is the U.S.-based subsidiary of the UK-based Daily Mail and General Trust. At all times material, plaintiff was an employee of defendant Daily Mail. So the material facts. Plaintiff's employment and outstanding performance at defendant's Daily Mail. In or around February 2022, plaintiff began working for defendant Daily Mail as a senior U.S. entertainment reporter. In that role, plaintiff investigated, developed, and published exclusive entertainment news stories, regularly covering high-profile celebrities and industry events. Plaintiff consistently performed at a high level throughout his employment, generating several million page views each month, and publishing stories which were frequently republished by news outlets around the world. In fact, in or around October 2024, plaintiff received a meritorious raise from editor-in-chief Katie Davis and managing editor Richard Ellis for his excellent work and high traffic contributions, which increased his salary from $100,000 to approximately $122,120. Plaintiff also developed content for defendant Daily Mail's flagship subscription platform, Mail Plus, where he became one of its highest performing contributors. Plaintiff's reporting on the Baldoni Lively matter and his involvement in the subsequent litigation. Plaintiff's success depended on cultivated relationship with celebrity publicists and industry sources, one of whom was actress Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloane, who had previously provided plaintiff with information leading to numerous exclusive stories. In or around early August 2024, defendant Daily Mail assigned plaintiff to investigate reports of tension between Miss Lively and actor-director Justin Baldoni during production of the film It Ends With Us. On August 8, 2024, plaintiff contacted Miss Sloane regarding those reports. During that conversation, Miss Sloane described Mr. Baldoni as the source of the onset conflict. She never stated that Mr. Baldoni had sexually harassed or assaulted Miss Lively. Hi, in my opinion, with love. Then, on December 20, 2024, Miss Lively filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department alleging sexual harassment by Mr. Baldoni. 2 days later, after reading a New York Times article discussing Miss Lively's complaint, plaintiff texted Mr. Baldoni's PR crisis manager, Melissa Nathan, contrasting Miss Lively's allegations in the CRD and the New York Times article with what Miss Sloane had previously told him, writing in pertinent part, Miss Sloane said the whole cast hates Mr. Baldoni. This has nothing to do with Miss Lively, and now she's saying that Miss Lively was sexually assaulted. Why wouldn't she say anything about that then? Although plaintiff inadvertently used the phrase sexually assaulted instead of sexually harassed, plaintiff clearly established that Miss Sloane told him the dispute that had nothing to do with Miss Lively, and that he never claimed that Miss Sloane had mentioned sexual harassment or sexual assault to him. On December 25, 2024, plaintiff again reaffirmed his communications with Miss Sloane in a group text with Miss Nathan and Mr. Baldoni's attorney, Bryan Freedman, stating in relevant part, never once did Miss Sloane mention anything about the sexual harassment. Plaintiff's communication with Mr. Freedman occurred in the ordinary course of his reporting on a rapidly developing and highly public controversy. Like investigative reporters covering contentious matters, plaintiff communicated with individuals representing different perspectives to understand and verify competing accounts. Plaintiff did not anticipate that portions of those communications would later be selectively quoted in litigation, while omitting his subsequent clarifying statements. So in this section, he still stands by his original declaration, right? Which is that uh you know they should have known that he didn't mean SA, that he just misspoke, right? And I think it was, I don't know who, I think it was, maybe it was LGA that I saw basically saying like this lawsuit is not something that's like like pro Wayfarer or pro Blake. It is really, this is about James uh fighting for his own career and fighting for his own stuff, you know what I mean? So I just want people to keep that in mind as we're reading this. This is not, this is a fight for James and his stuff. Nevertheless, on December 31, 2024, Mr. Freedman filed a lawsuit against the New York Times that included screenshots of plaintiff's text messages, name, and photograph. When plaintiff learned that these texts were included in the lawsuit, he immediately contacted Mr. Freedman and Miss Nathan, demanding removal of his name and photo. On January 2, 2025, Mr. Freedman filed an erratum to the lawsuit, redacting plaintiff's name and photo from the text message screenshots. On January 16, 2025, Mr. Freedman filed a lawsuit against Miss Lively and Miss Sloane, alleging defamation. In doing so, he selectively quoted plaintiff's December 2022-2024 text message to Miss Nathan, stripped of its surrounding context, and falsely alleged that per plaintiff, Miss Sloane had told him that Miss Lively had been SA'd by Mr. Baldoni. Plaintiff never made that statement. By publicly attributing false statements to plaintiff, the litigation thrust plaintiff into the center of a nationally publicized dispute. Those events in turn became the basis for defendant Daily Mail's subsequent efforts to control plaintiff's legal representation, dictate the contents of his sworn declaration, and influence how he responded to judicial process. Mr. Ellis subjected plaintiff to sexual harassment and retaliation. On or about December 6, 2024, Mr. Ellis randomly summoned plaintiff to his office, falsely accused him of scratching the elevator door, and asserted that repairs would cost approximately $2,350. Plaintiff denied scratching the door and requested that Mr. Ellis review the security camera footage. Mr. Ellis refused plaintiff's request. However, later that day, Mr. Ellis admitted to plaintiff via Slack that there was insufficient evidence to blame him, writing, "As your judge, jury, and executioner, I ruled that the evidence is not clear beyond reasonable doubt. So let's put this all behind us and get on with our lives." That evening, defendant Daily Mail held its annual holiday party at the Somewhere Nowhere Lounge. Shortly after plaintiff arrived, Mr. Ellis approached him, looked plaintiff up and down, and stated in a seductive and flirtatious manner, "I'm still trying to figure out a way for you to repay me for the elevator." Plaintiff understood the remark to be sexually suggestive. He stood silent and refused to engage, fearing retaliation if he confronted the managing editor. Executive editor Emma Powell noticed plaintiff's discomfort and intervened by pulling plaintiff away under the pretense of taking group photographs. Nevertheless, following plaintiff's rejection of Mr. Ellis's sexual advance, Mr. Ellis's treatment of plaintiff changed markedly. As set forth below, Mr. Ellis then engaged in a sustained pattern of hostility toward plaintiff that culminated in plaintiff's termination. Defendant Daily Mail prevented plaintiff from obtaining independent counsel and attempted to control his participation in the lively Baldoni litigation. In or around April 2025, Ms. Sloane's counsel personally served plaintiff with two subpoenas, one requiring the production of documents and another requiring plaintiff's deposition testimony in the lively Baldoni litigation. Defendant Daily Mail was also subpoenaed for documents related to that same litigation. Recognizing that his personal legal interests could diverge from defendant Daily Mail's corporate interest. Plaintiff immediately informed defendant Daily Mail's in-house attorney, Beth Lobel, that he intended to retain his own counsel to advise him regarding the individual subpoenas. However, Ms. Lobel told plaintiff not to get his own lawyer because doing so would betray the company. She further warned plaintiff that it is best to not have emails creating a record. Defendant Daily Mail's efforts to prevent plaintiff from retaining independent counsel were not limited to his legal department. Deputy Editor Chelsea Richell likewise instructed plaintiff that retaining outside counsel would be a mistake and that he needed to put the company first, reinforcing defendant Daily Mail's directive that plaintiff subordinate his own legal interests to those of the organization. Under this combined pressure, plaintiff did not retain independent counsel and instead relied upon attorneys who prioritized the defendant Daily Mail's rights over his. Throughout April 2025, Ms. Lobel repeatedly made statements intended to pressure plaintiff into believing he was personally responsible for defendant Daily Mail's legal expenses and to discourage him from exercising his independent judgment. After Mr. Baldoni alleged defamation against Ms. Sloane as part of the January 16, 2025 lawsuit, Ms. Sloane moved for sanctions, subpoenaing plaintiff in the process. Hi, Bixio Music. For example, Ms. Lobel told plaintiff, "This is your fault for getting us involved. It should be a lesson to you. This should be a lesson in empathy on how to treat people you interview. Your conversation with Mr. Freedman have nothing to do with defendant Daily Mail, and this is costing the company so much money to represent you." Defendant Daily Mail's efforts to control plaintiff's legal representation soon expanded into efforts to control the manner and substance of his response to the subpoenas. For example, in or around late May through early June 2025, despite plaintiff's explicit objections, defendant Daily Mail coordinated with Ms. Sloane's counsel to respond to plaintiff's subpoenas through a sworn declaration rather than by permitting plaintiff to produce documents and testify at a deposition. Interesting. That's interesting. Plaintiff repeatedly objected to the use of a sworn declaration in lieu of responding to the subpoenas through document production and deposition testimony. Given the antics of Mr. Baldoni and his legal team, along with the missing context, which had already harmed plaintiff's reputation, plaintiff consistently asked to preserve his ability to provide truthful testimony pursuant to the lawful subpoenas. Defendant Daily Mail pressured plaintiff to sign a declaration he believed was false or misleading. Throughout the drafting process, plaintiff repeatedly identified statements in the proposed declaration that he believed were false, misleading, or unsupported by his own knowledge. For example, on May 22, 2025, plaintiff objected to language stating that he regretted his actions because the language did not accurately reflect his views. Then, on or about June 4, 2025, plaintiff participated in a Zoom meeting with defendant Daily Mail's legal team, again without independent counsel present on his behalf. After counsel continued pressing for the disputed language despite plaintiff's objections, plaintiff again asserted that he would not agree to characterize his actions as something he regretted. Hi, Theone. Sorry. I suddenly got hit by the desire to sleep. Let me reread that last paragraph. Then on or about June 4, 2025, plaintiff participated in a Zoom meeting with defendant Daily Mail's legal team, again without independent counsel present on his behalf. After counsel continued pressing for the disputed language despite plaintiff's objections, plaintiff again asserted that he would not agree to characterize his actions as something he regretted. Despite plaintiff's repeated objections, the word regret still appeared twice in the final declaration. Plaintiff then Slack messaged Miss Powell and Miss Ritschel. I was super uneasy with how I was being gaslighted into thinking I was the one to blame. I have really no other option than to sign the declaration because Miss Sloane is really coming for me and wants to silence me. On the morning of June 5, 2025, plaintiff learned that if he signed the declaration, Miss Sloane would withdraw the subpoena served upon plaintiff except as to certain communication with Mr. Freedman and the subpoena served upon defendant Daily Mail. This reinforced plaintiff's belief that the declaration was being used as a negotiated litigation device rather than simply to memorialize his truthful recollection. Later that day, the plaintiff also objected to language stating that he did not authorize Mr. Baldoni or his counsel to include his text messages in their filings, explaining that he could not truthfully state what had or had not been authorized. When Ms. Lobel insisted the plaintiff sign, he again refused to sign the declaration with language that he did not authorize publication of his text messages. Counsel nevertheless continued urging plaintiff to execute the declaration. I mean, I'm glad that he's clarifying that because I remember the declaration and me going, but like, it's very clear that he gave permission, you know, that he may not have thought his name and all that stuff was going to be on there, but that he was fine with the actual use of his text. Feeling like his objections were being ignored, plaintiff then emailed Ms. Ritschel and Ms. Powell. I had to send this because I cannot sign something unless I am 1,000,000%. Did I count the numbers of zeros right? Anyways, that afternoon, Miss Lobel entered the newsroom and hostilely asked plaintiff, have you signed the declaration? Why have you not signed it? You need to sign it. There's a court deadline. And when plaintiff requested that Miss Davis review the declaration first, Miss Lobel replied, why would Miss Davis need to see this? She knows nothing about this lawsuit. Plaintiff then texted Miss Powell, I literally could never work again. I don't think I'm going to sign it. My gut says no. I'm being yelled at for not signing it. Miss Ritschel then instructed plaintiff, sign it. Miss Davis just asked that you sign it and get it done. Plaintiff responded, this is so ridiculous. No one wants to understand or listen to why I don't want to do it. Defendant Daily Mail abandoned plaintiff while publicly exploiting the declaration, and plaintiff engaged in further protected whistleblower activity. On or about June 5, 2025, at approximately 3:30 p.m., after hours of escalating pressure from defendant Daily Mail's legal and editorial leadership, plaintiff reluctantly signed the declaration while seated next to his colleague Diana Cooper. Immediately before signing, plaintiff wrote, I don't feel completely comfortable in doing this, on a piece of paper and placed it next to the declaration before executing it. He then showed both the note and the executed declaration to Ms. Cooper. The executed declaration stated in relevant part, in those text messages, my use of the phrase sexually assaulted was a mistake. I meant to say sexually harassed. I regret this error. I did not authorize Mr. Baldoni or his counsel to include my text messages in their filings. I regret that private text messages were made public. Both uses of the word regret, as well as the statement the plaintiff did not authorize publication of his text messages, remain in the declaration despite plaintiff's repeated written objection. I'm glad to know that he does object to those specific parts, because those are the parts that I felt like I was very surprised, you know. Plaintiff's objection to signing a declaration under coercion amounted to protected whistleblower activity. Y'all, I'm suddenly super sleepy, so I probably am going to end this abruptly. I think I'm going to go to the next like bolded section, and then I might just come back tomorrow to finish off this lawsuit. He said later that evening, plaintiff learned the deadline was preparing a story concerning the declaration based on information provided by Ms. Sloane. Concerned that the reporting would falsely portray him, plaintiff immediately notified defendant Daily Mail's legal department, requested legal assistance, and asked for an opportunity to respond before publication. Plaintiff was then referred to the head of internal communications, Mark Ryken. The next morning on June 6, 2025, plaintiff emailed Mr. Ryken and asked that the defendant Daily Mail contact deadline to ensure that the plaintiff could respond before publication of any false or misleading story concerning him. However, Mr. Ryken did not contact deadline. Despite plaintiff's requests, major outlets including People, Page Six, The Wrap, and Deadline published stories portraying plaintiff as having misspoken and characterizing the declaration as an admission of error. Later that evening, plaintiff text messaged Mr. Riken. I know you advised me to let it go and it will eventually pass, but this lie has already damaged my reputation and will have a devastating impact on my career and the relationships I have with all my trusted sources. Miss Sloane sending this to various outlets which are spitting this and painting me as a liar. Mr. Riken explained that Chief HR Officer Richard Morgan instructed him not to engage, stating, I understand and I want to help, but the mandate to not engage has come from the top. It will open us up to potentially more trouble. My hands are tied. Later that evening, plaintiff texted Miss Rochelle and Miss Powell. I just got done talking to my therapist for a while, and I think that right now would be a good time to take a week off work. I do not want to have a meltdown at work over I cannot control right now. Miss Rochelle responded, I completely get it. Take the week, turn your phone off, and take care of yourself. I don't want you to worry about any of this. It will work out. From June 6, 2025 to June 16, 2025, plaintiff took approved medical leave as recommended by his therapist. Did I say hi to Kimberly already? I don't think I did. Hi, Kimberly. In or around June 2025, plaintiff retained attorney Mark Geragos of Geragos and Geragos as independent counsel. Around the same time, plaintiff received another subpoena from Mr. Freedman. Plaintiff advised defendant Daily Mail that he did not want to object to the subpoena and instead wished to provide deposition testimony. Nevertheless, defendant Daily Mail's counsel prepared and filed objections on plaintiff's behalf over plaintiff's express wishes, continuing defendant Daily Mail's pattern of overriding plaintiff's decision regarding his own legal representation and participation in the federal litigation. On June 15, 2025, Mr. Geragos sent defendant Daily Mail a claim letter notifying the company that plaintiff was a protected whistleblower under New York law and that any adverse employment action taken against him would constitute unlawful retaliation. Nevertheless, defendant Daily Mail then began to retaliate against plaintiff. For example, the next day, defendant Daily Mail materially changed the way plaintiff's work was supervised and evaluated. Specifically, defendant Daily Mail required that all of plaintiff's article submissions be reviewed and approved by Mr. Ellis and the attorneys identified in plaintiff's claim letter. Then on June 26, 2025, Mr. Ellis left plaintiff a voicemail requesting a call. Plaintiff responded via email stating, I want to formally express that any adverse employment action taken against me at this point would be retaliatory, as I have an active and ongoing whistleblower complaint. Nevertheless, Mr. Ellis responded to the email terminating plaintiff effective immediately, stating you have repeatedly demonstrated a lack of integrity and poor judgment, and we therefore cannot rely on you as a reporter going forward. However, defendant's Daily Mail statement stated reason was pretext. Plaintiff was never counseled for any performance-related issues, let alone accused of lacking integrity and exercising poor judgment prior to engaging in protected whistleblower activity, rejecting Mr. Ellis's sexual advance and requesting a reasonable accommodation. In reality, defendant Daily Mail viewed plaintiff as a complainer and sought to prevent him from blowing the whistle in the future. Okay, y'all, I literally am so tired. Oh, Karis, you said good morning, Bati. I'm here like I need to sleep. I'm so tired. But good morning to you. I'm heading off. I will finish the lawsuit tomorrow. But for now, I gotta sleep. All right, night, y'all. Bye.